reason why I was struggling a minute ago in coming up with just some alternative language to present or to consider is because the way that the bill has been drafted, you have essentially a default clause that says that if you don't have a maximum number of lots, there will be this automatic transition after 5 years. And so if you have the maximum number of lots in there, then it goes back to the 75% conveyance of sort of like the way the way that the statute is set
Well,
up
to me,
now.
if the developer hasn't done anything in 5 years, it seems like they've given up, and the homeowner should take over and take ownership of their property and be the ones to take be proud of their property. So if they want to do that, I don't see what the issue is. In 5 years, if there's nothing done to sell, I'm just trying to figure out, wouldn't they have a role of pushing the process forward?
Right, but my point is that right now, if someone were to put a maximum number of lots in there, even if it's an inflated number, it would still be a way to avoid the transition after 5 years, because that's a default rule that only applies if they don't have the maximum number of lots that can be developed. And so what I was struggling with a minute ago was just on the fly trying to maybe think of a suggestion to deal with what is really feasible. So for example, if I have a 10-acre piece of property and I can't possibly put 200 lots on that because I know that the local regulations only allow for density of 4 lots per acre or something like that, I think it would be realistic to impose some sort of requirement that's also tied to the feasibility with regard to what you can actually do with that piece of property. So trying to balance just the conceptual nature of modern development process where you're saying, okay, well, we need some flexibility to perhaps put a condo on this tract over here and then maybe have larger lots on this one piece of land. And so trying to come up with some type of an estimate on day one as far as how many lots you might develop, and so at what point in time you'll transition, trying to find some way that focuses on feasibility. Otherwise, it just gives someone the opportunity to put, again, a vastly inflated number in there simply to end up in the same situation where you have owners who just don't have the opportunity to participate in their own governance scheme for many, many years because of the fact that the owner, the original developer, has no intention of developing the property further, probably has just a small piece of land that they can't possibly do anything with, and yet they're still in control of the board. So there are a number of ancillary issues. I mean, in this case...
But in that case, wouldn't you think that the homeowner should have the right to take over then?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm saying that the legislation right now, the way it's drafted, is not, it would not effectively address that situation if they were to put in an inflated number of lots.
If they said, we want 200 lots and it really can only accommodate 50.
Correct. Or, yeah, if they just have 1 acre left, but they still have this number of, 200 lots that may be developed.
Well, I mean, I can certainly understand the goal of trying to complete the development, and you want it to be marketable, the developer does, because they've made a large investment in it. But at some point, it seems that the right thing to do is to turn it over to the homeowners who also have made their investment, and if they're the majority there, 75%, at that point, it just seems like that could be the trigger. But I don't think that you're saying completely no. And I think what the chairman is trying to say is where can you come together? And I think that if you keep talking about it and keep thinking, you'll get there.
Correct, and I agree with your point completely. It's just the struggle of coming up with some type of formula that would generally apply and be fair for everyone without creating an opportunity for someone to simply avoid that rule by just plugging in a much higher number than they can actually ever accomplish in reality based on the zoning or planning requirements.
Thank you, Chair Collier. Chair